Hey everyone, I just had a lovely conversation with Charlie, one of our AI tutors specializing in engineering. Lovely guy all around. We had a really interesting chat about AI, his role in the future of AI, what he thinks his future could be like, and motorcycles. We both like them, and so we started talking about them. I hope you enjoy. Hi everyone, this is Charlie, one of our AA tutors specialized in engineering, but he'll tell us more about it later on. Charlie, after you.
Hi. I started working with Mindrift a few months ago, working in the automotive field, and it's something that is very interesting to me because I am really excited about the prospects for AI, and I think automotive engineering is somewhere where it's kind of had limited impact so far, but yeah, I think Mindrift is really working to change that, and I think it's really exciting what's being done.
So you say automotive engineering. As far as I know, it's a pretty wide field. Is there anything that you specialize in, what or that you like the most?
So my experience in automotive engineering is I did a year working at JCB, which is construction, which isn't quite automotive, but it's pretty similar. There's a lot of the same sort of problems regarding like homologation and like lots of these vehicles. A lot of this equipment would go on the road, so it needs to uh, fit into all like EU or North American requirements, or whatever. So that's kind of not exactly automotive, but it's still very similar. But then I moved into the motorcycle realm. I worked at Triumph for a few years. And again, like it's not actually cars, but it's very much automotive. And a lot of like the same principles apply. Like all of the kind of like the workflow and all that kind of stuff is very similar. And a lot of what you're working towards, like meeting customer demands and also legislative requirements. It's all quite similar. And finally, most recently I was working in defense, which is a little bit different. The kind of requirements are a bit different because you're no longer necessarily working so much to homologation requirements. It's more different kinds of things, but it's still engineering. Mechanical engineering is very broad, obviously, and automotive engineering is just a section of that. But there's massive amounts of overlap between the different types, and yeah.
That's brilliant. I actually have another question, which is what brought you to try out Mindrift?
Well, I got a message on LinkedIn because I'd worked at Triumph, I think, and they'd seen that, and yeah, just got a message saying like, would I be interested in working with an AI, trying to build a data set for a large language model for automotive. And as I mentioned, this is something that I'm super interested in. And I kind of jumped to the chance and was incredibly intrigued. And it was kind of that simple. I feel very lucky that I can't remember the guy's name, but I'm very lucky that he reached out to me and, presented me with this opportunity.
No, that's great to hear, especially since I think I know who the guy is, and he's a great guy to actually interact with. Now, you say that you're interested in AI. I would say, aren't we all? But apart from that, what do you think will be the role of AI in your future and in the world's future?
I mean, in my specific future, it's a bit funny you mentioned that because during COVID, I got very into programming and realized I actually really, really enjoyed it. And it was something that I can easily get sucked into. And also, I think I'm pretty good at it. So I actually started pursuing a career change to go into AI, into like AI development and stuff. So kind of moving out of automotive engineering. And so my role in AI, I hope is going to be, I think like there's going to be a massive market opportunity for building AIs, which are specific to, for example, automotive, but also like in general, specific to lots of different sectors. I think like engineering's got massive potential, in like lots of different ways. There's kind of the Mindrift side, which is the language model side, but also the design side, which, is, a slightly different field, but, also like 3D modeling and stuff. There's massive opportunities to really make all that easier. And that's just in engineering. Like, obviously, like, I think it's going to disrupt a lot of different sectors. And, I kind of think there's going to be lots of opportunities building, bespoke AIs for different sectors, for different businesses. where they can completely maintain control of their data and basically run their own local models specific to their requirements. That's where I kind of expect. I mean, I think there's still going to be a big space for more general ones, which are more public and don't necessarily have that data security. But I think, in engineering, having control over your data and control over your IP is extremely important. So yeah, that's kind of the direction I think it's going. And I think these bespoke models for example, automotive engineering. I know Mindrift is also doing like a legal one and a couple of other
But too
specific
many
ones.
to count.
Yeah,
I'll be honest.
They're definitely going to be like super useful and super in demand very soon, I think.
Brilliant. And you touch a really relevant point right now, which is data and data ownership. We see companies more and more striving to actually know where the data comes from, to actually try to keep ownership of whatever goes into their model and run their models as local as possible. From an ethical standpoint, how do you feel about yourself actually training artificial intelligence models with your own knowledge?
I mean, I think like for me, because I'm obviously being compensated for it, I'm being paid to, try and put like some of the stuff that I've learned into a useful format that can be used to make this useful AI product. Ethically, I think like that's like 100% like okay. I do think the way that some other models have been trained is definitely more questionable. I'm not sure I kind of want to get into that because I think there's arguments on both sides of the fence for the scraping data from everywhere. But the way Mindrift is doing it is it's 100% like you can't have any ethical complaints about something where people are agreeing to be compensated, to generate information, to generate data, and So from that standpoint, this is kind of perfect.
And now, speaking of generating information and data, where do you actually get your information from? Because, I mean, if it were me, I could kind of know something and then realize, I don't know enough to actually answer this. How do you do it?
I mean, a lot of the knowledge is stuff that I picked up on like automotive and mechanical engineering jobs. Some of it's like through the use of Google and some books and stuff. But yeah, it's kind of a mixture of all three really. And like, I'll know like there is something, I'll come up with a prompt where I have an idea of the answer, but then I'll just go on Google to double check that what I'm writing is actually correct before actually typing it in and, pressing enter. Yeah, in general, it's just a mix. You kind of got to know where your gaps are and know when you need to double check and when you can just go for it. You can use your confidence.
And did you actually learn something new or learn something that sparked your interest that you didn't know before because of these prompts and these requests?
Yeah, actually, because I can't remember specific examples off the top of my head. But I actually have started evaluating prompts as well. So that means going through other people's. And there was a few where I read the prompt and I had a decent idea. And then when I read the answer, I was like, oh, that's slightly unexpected. Went and checked. And it's like, oh, right, okay, that's how it is. And every day's a school day, right?
I mean, and hopefully you like school. Don't put it that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's actually a really good point. So every day is a school day. Is it something that you like doing to write, to learn at the same time, apart from the compensation side of it, which is always nice to have?
Yeah, of course. No, it's great. I mean, like, it sometimes can be a bit tricky. You can get a bit of writer's block, but I've kind of come up with a system where I just kind of only do it when I'm kind of ready. And I am always, not always, but when stuff pops into my head, I quickly jot it down and then, can come back to it later. And I've got like lots of notes of like things that which, would make a good prompt. Like, I'd say, I think like, oh, that is a time that I had to email a supplier to figure out something to do with this. And then I go like, okay, I'll just write that down when I come back, when I have a minute to do some tasks, just check that. And then bam, it's ready to go. There's the thoughts kind of formulated in the background.
Brilliant. And speaking of stuff that actually popped into your head, was there something let me say, weird, unexpected, unusual within your Mindrift journey?
I mean, for me, it's slightly like the weirdest thing. It's not super weird, but it's just be able to, be fully flexible in a mechanical engineering role. I have looked for this sort of thing for quite a while, and most mechanical engineering roles are very like 9 to 5, 5 days a week. Maybe some companies are a bit more progressive. They might do like 9-day fortnights or something, but fully flexible in and fully remote is something quite unique in this sector. So yeah, that's probably the strangest for me. I would say it's quite fun, but I wouldn't say it's necessarily. I mean, like I suppose 15 years ago, this would sound very strange, just writing data to create a LLM which can answer all your engineering questions. But yeah, no, nowadays like is quite straightforward and it makes a lot of sense.
Okay. And so you say that most engineering jobs are actually really, let me call them traditional in terms of 9 to 5. How do you actually balance your personal life, your Mindrift activity, and your other commitments?
I mean, as I say, I'm going through a career change. So my other commitments kind of boil down to studying, learning about AI and some of the fundamental principles in mathematics and stuff. I'm also building a kind of an AI integrated recipe management app, which like both of these are so very flexible. And then, my social life and stuff is, I can keep evenings free quite easily on top of all this other stuff. So yeah, for me, it works great. Like I have 3 fairly flexible things, which I can, balance when there's tasks coming in with Mindrift. It's easy to jump on them. And yeah, I don't know. I think like if I was still at the moment, if I was working a 9 to 5 right now, even then, Mindrift would still be great because for example, if you're working a traditional one and you're commuting by public transport, you could open up your laptop and bush out a few prompts on the way home, or you can, yeah, I don't know, if you're driving, I suppose it makes less sense, but yeah, because it's so flexible, it is easy to make it work around other things.
Let me make this clear. Don't drive a Mindrift. I would strongly advise against that, even with speech to text technology and so on and so forth. I don't think it's advisable. But public transport, yeah, long commutes, we've all been there. Being able to do something remotely is one of the joys in life. You said a lot of interesting things, mechanical engineering, flexibility, how you actually have an experience and you're learning more. Now, what would your advice be, and what would you say to someone who could be considering trying out a Mindrift?
I mean, I definitely say go for it because the barrier to entry is like, I mean, what's the word? Like the inertia required to get going to join up with Mindrift is not hard, and then you can try it out and see if it suits you. So really, why? Like, there's no reason why not. If you want to make a bit of pocket money on the side of your regular work, it's it's kind of perfect. You can sign up in, I think, doing everything, the entire like reading through the contract training probably was like 6 or 7 hours, and then after that, then you can. You have the opportunity to kind of do as much as you feel you can do, and as long as the quality of work is good, and if you're professional and you understand, you're a decent engineer, then it should be. There's no reason for it not to be. So yeah, definitely, you should go for it.
Brilliant. And I mean, you say engineering, but the reality is it's engineering, editing, writing, but there's also law. I think we have compliance of some sort, health sciences, formal sciences, chemistry, biology, physics. I have a list somewhere. I don't think I ever finished reading it. I'm going to be honest. Now, I'm actually going to go out on a limb here. Well, not really. I saw your profile pic, and I want to talk about something different. Your love for motorcycles. Now, you said that you work for Triumph. I mean, you've obviously completed some prompts in Mindrift. Did your love for motorcycles actually find a match within Mindrift every now and then, or were you stuck at the red light?
I mean, I feel like the problems I've been doing for Mindrift, they tend to be at a fairly low technical level, which, they haven't necessarily been super motorbike related. They've used, they've been related to concepts that I've used when designing motorbikes and like doing the engineering and testing and all that kind of stuff on them. But at like a kind of like low level, what I love about motorbikes is, the feeling of riding them, the winds, the noise, the smells, all of that kind of stuff.
The
Whereas,
rain.
yeah, oh my God, I absolutely got drenched last week, 2 weeks ago. It was horrific. That's not what I love. But
Hey,
luckily,
I ride as
that,
well. I know the feeling.
yeah. But yeah, I wouldn't say necessarily it's the motorbiking had a big impact on the Mindrift prompting, but the time at Triumph has had a massive impact on it. Like I learned a lot there. It was a really good place to work, being with lots of like-minded people. Yeah, I learned a lot of stuff which has gone directly into being able to create some interesting prompts.
And speaking of prompts, you spoke about the evaluation side, so actually evaluating other people's work. You spoke about creating prompts right now. So what does your typical submission actually look like? Your typical task?
The way Mindrift works, it's kind of broken up into different categories. So you can do probably the biggest category is open QA, where you just have to write a prompt about something generally related to the field and an answer as well. But then they get into more specific ones, stuff like creative writing. You can do like extraction tasks, all that kind of stuff. And then the kind of workflow on an individual prompt level would depend on the type of prompt. For more broad ones, I look at my notes and then kind of expand on them and think about like where that can come from. For stuff which is like sometimes you like have to write stuff, but like extraction or closed QA is called, where you have to kind of look at a piece of text and then generate prompts relating to that text in some way. For that kind of stuff, that one it can be, if you're starting from zero, like when I don't have notes, doing the open QA is really tricky, but doing the closed QA where you've got context, it's a lot easier because you kind of read it. You go like, is this relevant? And you go, yeah. And then it's not that hard to go, extract something from this text. And yeah. In terms of like the overall working day, it's when I feel like I've got about, an hour or half an hour or more free. I find if it's less than that, then I can't properly get into it. But with half an hour or more, then I can like actually get more in the zone and thinking about some interesting stuff. And yeah, so kind of whenever I have a chance, really.
Brilliant. And speaking about being in the zone, are you active in the Mindrift Discord community?
A little bit, yeah. So in the kind of evaluating side of my role, I will be looking at prompts, and there's lots of good ones, but sometimes the less good ones. There's some patterns that you notice, and it's like I feed back to people through Discord, so I can have a chat and actually build up a kind of more of not necessarily a bit of a rapport, I guess, but also have more of a conversation to try and get people to understand how things can be improved. Because when it's just a comment, you can do that and it does work and you can get something across. But I feel like it's much better when you can actually communicate and figure out where the kind of misunderstanding lies. So yeah, I am. It's good. Everybody's super friendly. It's a good way to communicate.
Speaking of people being friendly, what was your experience with team leads? Because in Mindrift, I don't know if anyone knows this, we actually have the AI tutors and then the team leads who orchestrate everything and make sure things go relatively well. But hopefully they are nice as well.
Yeah. They're really great. As I said, I don't think I've met anyone who's, being at all rude or not forthcoming with anything. And so, yeah, it's been good. Yeah.
Brilliant. So now that we're actually living on a good note, I'm going to ask one last question just to make sure that we got everything out. Do you have any questions for me? I like to reverse the roles every now and then.
I don't know. What bike do you ride? You asked me about mine. I think not in the interview, but yeah.
Yeah, so let me start from the beginning. I actually reached out to Charlie because I saw his profile picture and he was riding a Kawasaki Versys, a really nice bike, which I love, but I have long legs and it's not great for me. So I actually ride BMW R1250 GS Adventure. Great bike. I actually did the entirety of Croatia, north to south last summer. Um, Lovely bike. Hopefully you like the answer. Not a sport bike by any means.
It's a bit controversial. Triumph has a little. Should I go into this? Maybe I shouldn't. I feel like I might say
I
something.
did test ride the Tiger. Let me put it that way.
The Tiger. I've got a lot of love for that bike. But yeah, no, the BMW is a good bike. There's just a little bit of. I think there's beef from Triumph to BMW. I don't think it goes the other way. I don't think they care about it the other way. But yeah, yeah. No, it's a good bike though.
That's all gone and done. So thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much, Charlie, and goodbye.